Shabbat Shalom to everyone. This service tonight is dedicated to all those who assisted in the rescue of those being held at the Beth Israel congregation, and it represents our unity, our Am Echad, that we are one people, that we are united in our Judaism, in our faith, and we are united in going forward. We commence our service with Kabbalat Panim, welcoming the presence of the Shabbat. We begin with the candle lighting blessing on page 120, and we call the Menachers to lead us in that beautiful prayer.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chalik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen. Want to read the English?
Yes.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Thank you.
And our service continues on the theme of Am Echad, one people, with the singing of Eli, Eli, my God, a poem by Hannah Senesh, page 653. Our service continues now on page 203. Let us join in prayer. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands no abdication of my mind. Together. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because Israel's promise is the universal promise. I am a Jew because for Israel, the world is not completed, we are completing it. I am a Jew because for Israel, humanity is not created, we are creating it. I am a Jew because Israel places humanity and its unity above the nations and above Israel itself. I am a Jew because above humanity, the image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity which is divine. We continue now with Lachadodi in the spirit of unity, in the spirit of Shabbat, page 138 and page 139. We will chant the first two verses on 138 and then rise and greet the Shabbat on page 139 on verse 9. be seated. At the bottom of page 140 in the indented paragraph, let us join in prayer. The righteous bloom like a date palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no wrong. We continue now with the beautiful Shalom Aleichem, peace upon you from our ministering angels and upon the world as we welcome in the spirit of Shabbat with Shalom. Page 142, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lachem Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zidkim l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Halachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Our service continues now with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 144.
Yitgadol, Yitgadash, Shemei Abba, Yamad v'rach Erudei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, Hagala v'zman karev, v'hiru amen. Yesh v'rabba mevarach, le'olam lo-me'olaya, yitbarach v'yishtamach, v'yitpar v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh v'yitadar, v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei
Please rise for the Baruch Hu on the following page. Page 146. You may be seated. This week is the Parsha Yitro that celebrates the giving of the Torah to the children of Israel at Sinai. I've added to our service selections from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Zichrona Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing, essays that are taken from his work Moral Grandeur and Spiritual Audacity. And these essays were edited by his daughter, Professor Susanna Heschel. Reading 1. Why is the study of Torah considered more important than prayer? Because, as mentioned in a beautiful book written in the Middle Ages, what is the difference between Torah and prayer? When you study Torah, God speaks to you. When you pray, you speak to God. Naturally, study of Torah must be regarded as more important than prayer. Came the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, and exalted the role of prayer. The doctrine of prayer and the doctrine of study are based upon the discovery of the meaning and the reality of a spoken word. Suddenly, a word becomes greater than the person, and he or she who does not know that a word is greater than a person does not even know how to pray or how to read the Torah. We continue now with the Shema and the V'ahavta. Please rise, page 152.
Adonai, Elohim.
You may be seated. The Via Hafta. Please join in the recitation of the Via Hafta, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך וכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות הידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תסרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And before we chant the Hashkivenu, let us turn to page 161 at the top of the page. We join together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael, Ve'al Yerushalayim. And we continue now with the Vishamru on page 162.
Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם.
The Bible teaches us that life without commitment is not worth living, that thinking without roots will bear flowers but no fruit. Our commitment is to God, and our roots are in the prophetic events of Israel. In light of the Bible, history then is not a mere succession of fait accompli, things done and no longer worth arguing against. In the eyes of God, nothing is ever lost. The past is always present. Though events do not run according to a predestined plan, the goal can never be expressed in one word or in words at all. As a whole has a meaning that transcends that of its parts. We are involved in our doings. That meaning is given not only in the timeless, great are man's possibilities, for time is but a little lower than eternity. And history is a dream in which both man and God have a stake. In its happening, we hear the voice as well as the silence of God. Please rise for the Amidah, beginning with the Tefillah, page 164, continuing through to page 170. Please rise.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ulfirita ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
continue in silent meditation, either in the prayer book or in your own thoughts. Page 172 through page 180. You may be seated. Page 178, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. B'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Yisrael. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. One of the great features of life is our ability to remember. Remembrance shapes who we are, how we feel about the present. For example, when we recall a moment of accomplishment, such as our graduation from high school, college, professional school, a great feeling washes over us. Our present feels alive and has a sense of moving forward. At any given rega, at any given moment, we might think of our first love, the first time we made love, or made love to the man or woman that we now cherish, have married, and love and will love forever. In these moments, the past becomes present and an inspiration to be in the moment and the enabling us to move forward. These are moments of revelation, and life makes more than sense. It transforms our present into meaning, purpose, and even transcendence. As a people, one such defining moment is Sinai, that we will chant at the end of this sermon from Parshat Yitro, the Torah portion that is for this weekend. And in this portion, we will chant the Ten Commandments. And yet another defining moment is Auschwitz, one opposite from the other. On an individual level, people who suffer abuse at the hands of someone close to them, if they reflect, understand these polarities, these opposites. They also experience moments of love from the very hands of the people who abuse them. They receive the same thing that they long for, yet at other times receive the polar opposite, the displacement, the wrongful displacement of anger, hate, selfishness, greed. And often the people who suffer such abuse do not possess the means of integrating these two polar opposites. And so as a people, how do we understand these polar opposites of Sinai and of Auschwitz? And to do so, we begin by looking at this week's Parsha, where we are taken to the heights of our encounter with God. Oh, I know, how could such a thing rationally occur? God came down to a mountain and gave us the Torah, the Ten Commandments, words that continue to resonate to this very day. And what was the essence of Sinai? It's a phrase you've heard so many times before from the pulpit. I'm sure every rabbi who came before me, from 1844 to Rabbi John Kaplan, my predecessor, we are to be a mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, to be a kingdom of priests and a holy people. That is, whenever we are engaged in mitzvot, in commandments that bring out our very best. That's what mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh means. And right now, at this moment in time, we are at our very best. We have lit the candles of Shabbat. We sing unto God a shir chadash, a new song. We pray despite a pandemic, and when we are genuinely engaged in prayer, we love life with all its complexities. And when we love, I believe we are what God intends, a kingdom of priests and a holy people. Auschwitz, the polar opposite of Sinai. Elie Wiesel, in his memoir, Night, describes his experience and thus ours at Auschwitz in the following way. Never shall I forget that night, that first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames that consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God Himself. Never. So, how is it possible to now believe in Sinai, the purest act of love between God and humankind, when God, as Wiesel describes, murdered his, when the Germans murdered his and our God, turning the Jewish people's dreams to dust? There are no words for Auschwitz. There are no words for the 4 gas chambers and the crematoria at Birkenau. So how do we reconcile the traumas and loves of the past with our present? Revelation and choice. There is a beautiful tale, one that I'm sure many of you have heard, about a young boy and a wise man. It reflects the crossroads of our consciousness when we experience these polarities. It goes as follows. There lived a wise old man in a small village to whom everyone turned to for guidance and advice. One day, a young boy decided he would confront the old man with a question that he knew the old man would not be able to answer correctly. He planned to find a little bird and hold it cupped in his hands, hidden from sight. He would then approach this wise old man and ask him to guess what he had buried in his hands. If the wise man answered it correctly, he would then ask him the following: whether the bird is alive or dead. If the old man said the bird was alive, the boy would crush the bird with his hands and kill it, thereby proving the old man wrong. But if the wise old man said it was dead, the boy would open his hands and let the bird fly free, demonstrating at last that the old man was not as wise as everyone thought him to be. So the boy ventured off and found a little sparrow that fit neatly within his hands. And as he approached the old man, the boy said, "Wise old man, can you tell me what I have in my hands?" "Why, of course I can," the man responded without hesitation. "From all the small feathers clinging to your jacket and pants, it is plain to see it is a little bird that you have cradled in your hands." "Ah, that is so," the young boy explained. "But is the bird alive or dead?" The old man paused for a moment, then rubbed his chin in contemplation of his response. Looking the young boy in the eyes, the old man replied in a soft tone, "Whether the bird is alive or dead is in your hands, my child. The choice is yours." And so it is in all matters of life. The only physical world we dwell in is the present, but the choice of revelation is in our hands. Despite the polarities of our history, the choice to believe and to act as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation is in our hands. We recall when this very temple that we are sitting here this evening was in all its glory, from filled classrooms in the religious school to weekday luncheons with incredible guest speakers, the vibrant sisterhood and brotherhood, extraordinary Friday night services with delicious onegs to follow. Standing room only was the norm for high holy day services. I so wish that I could have witnessed it. Today it is so hard. With a declining Jewish population, 8 children in the religious school, and on top of all of that, COVID. However, we are neither discouraged nor are we melancholy. Instead, we gather here tonight as if we were right at Sinai. We show our strength and commitment each day at this temple, and we express that revelation to our communities. We choose transcendence over nothingness. Tonight, as we do each day, we affirm our commitment to Torah as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Please rise for the chanting of the 10 Commandments. Those of you who feel it's safe, if you'd like to mask and come forward and to see the 10 Commandments as they're being chanted, please feel free to do so. For the people who are on Zoom, we have a camera that we will hold up. Amen. וידבר אלוהים את כל הדברים האלה לאמור. אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך, אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים, מבית עבדים, לא יהיה לך אלוהים אחרים על פניי, לא תעשה לך פסל וכל תמונה אשר בשמיים ממעל ואשר בארץ מתחת ואשר במים מתחת לארץ, לא תשתחווה להם ולא תעבדם. כי אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך אלקנה, פוקד עוון עוון על בנים ועל שלישים ועל רבעים לשונאי, ועושה חסד לאלפים, לאוהבי ולשומרי מצוותי. לא תישא את שם אדוני אלוהיך לשווא, כי לא ינקה אדוני את אשר יישא את שמו לשווא. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, 6 ימים תעבוד, ועשית כל מלאכתך, ויום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך, לא תעשה כל מלאכה, אתה ובנך וביתך, עבדך ואמתך ובהמתך, וגרך אשר בשעריך, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו. כבד את אביך ואת אמך, למען יאריכון ימיך על האדמה, אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך. לא תרצח, לא תנאף, לא תגנוב, לא תענה רעך עד שקר, לא תחמוד בית רעך, לא תחמוד אשת רעך, ועבדו ועמותו ושורו וחמורו וכל אשר לרעך. You may be seated. We continue now with the Misha Berach prayer, a prayer for healing, page 371.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
We pray for the healing of Rhoda Bennett, Paul Bradley, Harold H. Fink, Charmaine Mosier, Bruce Mosier, Mark Schoenfeld, Mark Siegel, Glory Weisberg, Valerie Zimmerman, Judy Stein, Harry Appelman, David Cherniak, Phyllis Feibelman, Dr. John Johnson, Mark and Hetty Blinderman, Barb McGinnis, and Tim Hansen. We now turn to the many people who are on Zoom to unmute yourself and to add to this list the names of those in need of healing.
Jennifer Sundberg,
Karen
Alice
Adams.
Glass,
We turn now to those present in our congregation this evening. Bob Recusin.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please rise for the Alenu, page 586 and 591. This week, we observed the yahrzeits of Susan Sparks, Mildred Gandler, and Harry Paper. We'll begin now with members of the congregation who are here present, who may wish to remember anyone whose yahrzeit is this week's. We now turn to members who are on Zoom.
Dr. Emmanuel Bass.
In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links us to generations past, let us now rise and join in the recitation of the Kaddish, Kaddish for mourners and for all. Let us rise and join in the recitation of the Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ule'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitala v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God, who establishes peace unto the heavens, grant peace and comfort in the hearts of all who mourn, and let us say, Amen. Before we continue, first you may all be seated. We want to welcome those who are on Zoom. We have a number of people to welcome. Mel and Odette Sternberg, Larry Miller, James Perry, Nate and Iris Ginsberg, Howard and Patricia Silverman, Ann Zelniker, Harold and Emily Fink, Shirley Boyd, Charmaine Mosier, Cole and Ellie Appleman, Steve Mulfelder, Miller52 at AOL.com, Jack and Amy Friedlander, Priscilla Gold Darby, Harvey and Sandra Gandler, Richard and Diane Frank, Karen and Himath Singh, Michelle, Marion Birkin, and Roy Hoffman. Any announcements for this evening? Okay. There will be a gathering at 10 o'clock on Sunday. Joe Metz is trying to organize a youth group, or at least begin the process. And you can either attend virtually if you have somebody in the teen category in your household, or spread the word. Torah study, of course, is next week on Wednesday at 5:30. We want to thank our cantorial soloist and Demi, and of course Chris, our music director, and of course Andy for making all of this. He's our, I referred to him as our George Martin of our services. He makes all of this possible, and we really thank him. The music tonight, the prayers that were offered by all of you were just beautiful and heartfelt, and thank you for leading us in worship. Please rise for the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu B'Shabbat Kodsho b'Ava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Kivonu v'acharta V'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshecha V'ahava uveratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. I don't know how you sing so beautifully. My voice is completely worn out. It's beautiful. We're going to conclude our service with with Hatikva, which means, of course, the hope, and represents a fitting conclusion to the service that is dedicated to unity, the notion of Am Echad, one people, who are striving to be Mamlechet Kohanim B'Goy Kadosh, a kingdom of priests and a holy people. Please rise, page 678, for the singing of Hatikva. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.